Hey guys and gals, it's me George, the Shade Tree Fix-It Man, and I'm back at it again. Been working at it today and got some changes going on here. And for those of you who didn't see the last video, I'll post a picture right here of the way it looked yesterday. The major change is that now we're going to have two separate chains, not just one. The front chain starting at the transmission and going back. Similar setup with the pulley, guide pulley. And another one back here. And it goes to the same sprocket that was there in the back before. And then it comes around there and comes back down across the bottom. There's still going to be another pulley in the bottom holding up on that. I don't have it in place because we don't have the regular chain yet. So this is all pieces just kind of hooked together. Some of them are even just hooked together like that right there. Yeah. So the major change is here. And the reason for this, and I'll have to go back in my comments to see, someone said that I might run into problems with the suspension travel. And that person was exactly right. So to alleviate that problem, we now have a separate chain from this big red sprocket back to the sprocket that's on the rear end, and those are both exactly the same size. And the sprocket that's on the rear end is the one that was on the differential, but we're not going to be using that because it wouldn't function unless I had the white part out, and that would have to be hooked directly to the wheel, and that's not possible the way we're going. So I took that sprocket off, and I took the hub off the lawnmower that went to the opposite side, and I get it all properly spaced, and I welded it to this hub here, and I'll show you the other side when we get around the back. It's welded on both sides. And that will be splined and have a key of some kind to hold it in place on the axle. And then to make sure that we don't get too much slack in the chain over the suspension travel, we now have a spring-loaded idler on the bottom. So the top is where it will be pulling from and going in forward gears anyway. So and that's what it'll be most of the time. So the rear end can go up and down, and these two sprockets will be independent of the rest of the drive system. Now the other thing that I worked on today is the suspension, and you'll notice down here that there are some weld throughs coming from the back side. That's because my radius rod is now welded to our axle holder with the pillow blocks up in there. Now coming around to the back side, you can see, and don't worry about that chain being a little cockeyed, it's because the links keep popping off when I'm moving things around. They're just stuck together. They're not permanent by any stretch of the imagination. But now you can get an idea of how this sprocket works, and you can see here the way I welded that completely around on this side. So it's in there. And with this and this bronze spacer like right here, which was actually a bronze bushing for, I don't know, I think a snowblower it came off of. with, whoops, get back down there. With these two pieces, it gives me the right spacing between the sprocket and our axle hanger. And down the bottom here, and I hope this is coming out light enough. I can lighten it up in post, in editing anyway, if I have to. You can see I've welded this to the axle hanger here, and they're cut to length, so both sides are exactly the same, and both are welded in. And then I have, these are not attached, they're just stuck through the holes, but I have 2 1/2-inch rods going across the bottom here that help to locate our axle and our radius rods and keep the proper distance apart. And they're going to have a nut on the inside and a nut on the outside of that bracket that will hold them in place. And that will help keep my spacing in the back. And then I have 2 spacers up here. They're not the way they're going to be eventually, but these are going to be for our wheel spacing. Actually, when my wheel goes on, it sits over top of this outside spacer right here. That one, yep. Not the right size. Still got to make some adapters for them or come up with some. But using this 1/2-inch rod across the bottom here, it is going to allow me to attach my coilover shocks right to these rods like that, and I will have a stop on either side of it, keep them from sliding. And no, this isn't the permanent setup up top. Probably another piece of 1/2-inch rod across the top here. This is just my mock-up at the moment. Will locate the tops of my shocks, and they'll be right in almost against the inside of the frame. And that gives us plenty of clearance between the sprocket and the suspension. And I did try using, let me grab it. I did try using these things, and actually they would have worked pretty cool. And I could have mounted them down here like this, you know. But the problem is, fine on this side, but when you get over here, I got so much stuff going on, there's just not enough room in there, you know what I mean, to get that spring down in there. So those aren't going to get used at this point. And I even tried figuring out a way to mount them up on the top here, but again, the same problem. Unless I were to bring this top rod all the way out further, and then I could probably hook that on there. We might think about that. But anyway, and then to keep things from sliding side to side, because right now there's nothing to stop it from sliding. Well, there's weight on it. But right now there's nothing to actually stop it from sliding side to side. So we will be incorporating in here somehow this this rod here. And I haven't figured out exactly how I'm going to attach it. But it will be in there, and that'll help to keep our axles centered and keep them from wanting to walk on us, you know. So that's what I've been at today. I think my sprocket for the brake is actually going to be on the inside, and I'm probably going to set it up so that its spacing is about the same as this is on this side. Will be the disc brake sprocket on this side. Kind of keep things symmetrical, you know. So that's what I've been up to, and yeah. Changed a lot of things around again and redid them a number of times, but that's part of the process. You got to keep going. But I really think, I really think that we're just about there as far as our drivetrain goes. I actually have this lower guide pulley down here is mounted, and our spring-loaded thing back here is mounted, but I need to get a different spring setup. I didn't have one spring long enough, so I just got two of them hooked together. And I don't have my sprocket up here. Of course, the other guide pulleys are just kind of floating around. But yeah, that's where we're at. Just so you can get an idea how it's going to look with a wheel on there. And that's just propped on there. Again, I don't have the wheel adapters. As you can see, there's a big difference between those little hubs and the hubs on the back of the wheels. We're working on that too. So that'll give you an idea how the back is. It looks real busy right now, but you got to stop and think we got jack stands in there that won't be there, and I got my level sitting up there and another one up on top. That'll give you an idea how it's going to look with the wheel in place. And of course, another thing you got to remember, there are going to be covers at least over the chain up here, the top part, so there will be nothing that legs can get caught on. And of course our feet are going to go up to that, where that rod is right there. That's about where feet sit. Ooh, shaky cam, shaky cam. So until next time, this is George, the Shade Tree Fix-It Man, saying thanks for watching. Bye now.